and I'm looking at some of these players right before the game, looking at the big
Streaming live on the Elevation5280sports.com website. Just click Listen Live at the top of the page, and Windows Media Player will play the sports talk you want to hear. Elevation5280sports.com. Careful. It's tough to breathe up here.
Step this way for the Spanish Inquisition. Just a little coffee talk, okay, like butter.
Matt's an okay dude, but he's a dummy.
Michael! Oh, that's funny. Michael!
And now, broadcasting live from the Elevation 5280 Sports Studios in Denver, Colorado, this is The Wheelhouse with Matt Mascarenas and Michael Spillett.
I've said it 2 years ago. I'll say it again, Matt, that Will Barton can and will shoot you out of a game. That was the same criticism that I had of J.R. Smith when he was here, Matt. Yeah, he'll drain 5 3-pointers in a row, but then he'll miss 10 in a row. And you always say, a shooter needs to keep shooting. No, never believed in that sentiment, especially with guys like a J.R. Smith and a Will Barton, guys who will shoot you out of a game.
I agree 100% on this team being a pretender right now. And you mentioned it, Will Barton, there's no semblance of a rotation on this basketball team. There's no bench. The bench is awful. You can't have Mike Malone keeping Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray when he's on the court, when he's playing, or your starters playing 35, 40 plus minutes a game, because you can't take a rest. You can't let your bench come in because they're going to give up double-digit leads. They're going to give up double-digit runs.
Can we invite Matt?
All work and no play makes Michael a dull boy.
Now, Matt and Michael are on.
And welcome into the Wheelhouse here, Elevation5280sports.com. Getting started a little earlier this morning on this championship Sunday, Matt. We made it to the AFC and NFC title games. We got 2 good games coming up later tonight. F Technology, Matt, how you doing?
Oh, man, I'm good. I didn't realize that if we got going earlier, that we would have more problems than if we got going at the regular time. Because regular time, I come down here and we might have to, like you said, F technology. We don't have to mess with the technology. But this morning, man, I had kid problems. They wanted cereal, oatmeal, waffles. It was a nightmare here for a good hour this morning. Too early for that. Way too early for it.
Like, I don't really feel like throwing a computer through a window this early. And that's what almost happened. I literally use these computers just for this. And like I told you, it takes 20 seconds to go back to a tab I was literally just at. So excuse the construction on the website. It's taking forever to load the video on there, but we are streaming live on Twitch. Go to twitch.tv/5280radio and on Facebook Live as well. So make sure you like the page if you already haven't. So we are live on there as well. Like we mentioned, Matt, Championship Sunday, and a lot to talk about this morning. It has been a crazy last week and a half to 2 weeks, Matt, in the NFL. I mean, the coaching carousel, it has begun. Some guys withdrawing their names from consideration. Other guys leave it to the Bears to hire some dude you never heard of. Sounds like an instrument that Ron Burgundy would play. And yeah, I mean, it's just so much crazy stuff going on. Has 2 greatest QBs of all time really retired? We'll get into that. That was some crazy news yesterday. All right, Matt, starting with this coaching carousel. So we had about, I think it was 8 openings this go around in the NFL for coaching, and 3 have been filled. The New York Giants hire Brian Dable from the Buffalo Bills, the former offensive coordinator there for about 4 years. Again, the Chicago Bears, Matt Eberflus. Again, you would picture Ron Burgundy in that club playing an Eberflus. That's what I imagine that is. And then, of course, the Denver Broncos hired Nathaniel Hackett your boy from the Green Bay Packers. Also, news that the Bears will hire. Oh my God, his name has slipped my mind already.
Luke Getsy.
Luke Getsy, the quarterback coach from the Green Bay Packers. So Aaron Rodgers losing all his offensive coaches right now, and of course we'll get into the Aaron Rodgers saga part 2, Matt, because last year was part 1. We are now on part 2 of this year. But your thoughts on the coaches switching around, and of course Dan Quinn withdrawing his name from consideration from all destinations. He goes back to Dallas to be their defensive coordinator.
I would love to see what the timeline on that was when Quinn. So the way I understand it is because that was the biggest thing. I thought going into this, Dan Quinn was the guy here in Denver. And it's just because I felt like a lot of other folks around town, and they're in the front office with George Payton and those guys, that maybe this team, as it's presented, as the way it is, needed a veteran coach, somebody who's done it before, somebody that can come in and implement a game plan and run a game management scenario, pick good guys to run the offense, good guys to run the defense, blah, 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 blah. That's what it was all looking like. And then Nathaniel Hackett came in, did what he did, impressed how he did, went and had tamales, sealed the deal. And it was the Dan Quinn stuff was surprising that when I heard he wasn't going I thought he was going to the Bears. If he wasn't going to the Broncos, I thought it was going to be the Bears. And then the Giants kind of sorted. I was reading some stuff last week that said the Giants were looking at Quinn too. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, Quinn, that'd be perfect with Russell Wilson, blah, blah, blah. And then he doesn't go anywhere. That Quinn was the biggest surprise outside of Eberflosen he stayed. He took an extra, was it $3 million or something like that to stay in Dallas. And the only thing that makes me think is that Mike McCarthy has one season. If the whole season, he might have a handful of games, and then they're gonna go with Dan Quinn. I think Kellen Moore kind of made them nervous about what he had going on, so they had to make sure they could keep Dan Quinn in there. That was huge. That was crazy. Hackett, I love the Hackett hiring here. Again, I wanted Quinn. I wanted another coach, a coach that's done it before, a coach that's been to the Super Bowl, coach that learned from his mistakes before. That's what I wanted. But I am happy to see Nathaniel Hackett here. The energy and everything that he brings here is tremendous, and it's a breath of fresh air for this football team and for us as fans to watch our team. So I'm excited about the Nathaniel Hackett. I feel like he answered all the questions, the right way. There was no, who's going to call plays. He said he's going to call plays. So I felt like he did that well. Yeah, the Green Bay Packers, the offensive room is getting purged. It looks like, Getsy goes to Chicago. They're keeping Stefanovic. He's going to be the OC, and he was linked here to be our OC here in Denver. So the Packers are keeping him. But yeah, that the surprise, the big surprise was the Bears going with the Ufagazi, the Trump, what do we call him?
I think it's in the clarinet family.
Yeah, we're going with that guy. And what do you think about that as a Bears fan? Were you hoping for Quinn? Were you hoping for Flores? Were you? I mean, I don't know if Flores would look. A Dabble was kind of looking there. Were you looking? I mean, we already had a Nagy kind of situation. I mean,
well, this is Matt Nagy part 2,
but defense, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, his name is Matt too, also. So you got that going. Matt's an okay dude, but he's a dummy.
He's a big dummy.
It was just weird. And, the Broncos opened the floodgates, all these hires. Well, the Bears and the Broncos hire came pretty quick, right next to each other. The Broncos went first, and then the Bears followed suit by hiring Eberflus. And then, this all happened after Dan Quinn withdrew his name. So, Broncos jumped on it because Hackett was supposed to have a second interview in Jacksonville, a place where he did call plays and brought Blake Bortles and the Jacksonville Jaguars to the AFC title game back in 2017. So, that was a good destination for him. And the Broncos and George Payton were like, no, you're not getting on that flight. We're going to go to Los Dos Potrillos and dazzle you with our Mexican food in Colorado. So, that's what happened there. But I was hoping for Jim Caldwell, honestly, in Chicago.
Right. Yep.
I don't understand why he nor Doug Peterson, two guys with, Super Bowl experience and things like that, Jim Caldwell won a Super Bowl as Tony Dungy's assistant
Right.
coach in Indianapolis. Of course, you had Peyton Manning, and then what he did in Detroit, Matt, he actually had 3 winning seasons in a row in Detroit. Went to the playoffs, I think 1 or 2 times during that span. Of course, they lost in the playoffs, but I mean, if you can get Detroit to a wild card round, Matt, you've done more than your job, I think. And I don't know why these guys are getting passed over, but I was hoping for Jim Caldwell, Matt, a dude with just so much experience and championship experience. But of course, again, leave it to the Bears to hire some dude from the Clarinet family.
And it was odd because you got a new former player in the GM. He used to play for the Bears. So
Yeah,
you would think
I
that
don't think that's going to work either.
I don't think it's going to work either.
Plus,
Not
guess
after
where he
this.
came from?
Not after
Guess where he
what they
came
just
from?
did here with the instrument, hiring an instrument as a coach. I'm with you too. I like Jim Caldwell. I liked what he did there in Cleveland. I thought he got a bad rap. Well, I think it was just time. It was just time, and we were waiting for him to come back around. Are you shocked at? I mean, you mentioned Doug Peterson. Are you shocked at? I don't think Eric Bieniemy is going to get a job. I don't think I don't know if Flores is going to get a job this cycle. I think he might just because there's openings, but I don't know. Are you shocked at some guys like that, not getting second interviews or even looking at? I mean Jacksonville interviewed freaking Vic Fangio for Pete's sake.
I kind of hope he gets that job in Jacksonville.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome. And what we haven't talked about yet was how about the Raiders? The Raiders requesting permission to interview Josh McDaniels. I want that to happen. For the Broncos to play the Raiders and Josh McDaniels twice a year. I mean, that story just wrote itself.
It does, but I'm like, I want that because we know what Josh McDaniels is and what he can do. And I don't know if you saw this. I think it was on one of those podcasts. It might have been with Brandon Marshall and a couple other dudes. But you had DJ Williams was on this podcast, and he was talking about how they were basically cheating that first 6 games when McDaniels went 6-0, and then after they got caught cheating in San Francisco, they it turned to crap for him. So that was interesting to get all that tidbits. And then now you hear McDaniels, he's going to the Raiders. I was reading that he brought this extensive plan to use Waller and Moreau as double tight end sets and all this blah, blah, blah. The things that dude's done already, he's burned a lot of bridges. So it makes sense that his only place was either stay in New England. And this also tells me too, that Bill Belichick might be coaching a hell of a lot longer. Cause I thought McDaniels was going to stay there in New England and then take over head coaching when Bill Belichick retired. But this might tell us that Bill ain't going anywhere. But I think that this might be a double-edged sword, man. You get the Raiders. Look what the Raiders did with this interim special teams coordinator. To I know it's a different Broncos team, blah blah blah, but I just get a little nervous about like, man, I on the surface, what we know what Josh McDaniels is about, but he could learn some things and he could have figured some stuff out, and he goes over there and he looks like freaking Mike Shanahan all over again. Like I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but that just I'm kind of on the fence about that. I get both sides of it. I would love to see us play Josh McDaniels twice a year and whoop his butt, but I don't know, man. I'm just kind of like, oh, that's kind of you're in dangerous territory there. I think maybe.
Well, and I think he's learned. I don't know if learned his lesson is the correct phrase to use, but I think he's learned from his disastrous, not even 2 years here in Denver back in 2010 or 2009.
2010, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he didn't even make it through the second season in which he was here in Denver. So I think he's learned a lot since then. You would think, like you mentioned, he would be waiting for Bill Belichick to retire, but I don't think that's in the cards here soon.
Right.
I honestly want it to happen to play Josh McDaniels twice a year in the AFC West. So that would be pretty incredible for that to happen. And as we mentioned, the Buffalo Bills lose their offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll. He goes to the Giants. Good luck there. I don't know if you saw, I forgot his name. The owner of the Giants said, talking about Daniel Jones, said we screwed this kid up pretty good. By so many changes and coaching and stuff like that, from former offensive coordinator here in Denver, Pat Shurmur, to what they had in Joe Judge. This is just crazy in New York, and good luck to Brian Daboll, because I mean they're just a mess, and a lot of people saying that Barkley is already done.
Right.
I mean, they ran him to the ground so bad that he is already in and out of his prime, Matt, somehow in 2 years already.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, he's got that catastrophic, usually career-ending knee injury that he had, but they have leaned on him. Yeah, like you said, they ran it because there was nothing else there with that offense. There was absolutely nothing. The receivers were, you had Sterling Shepard, and you had the former Bronco come on there for a little bit. And there's a couple other guys too that started to come on towards the end there, but it was struggling. You're supposed to have Evan Ingram as your big tight end, somebody to go to. He flamed out. So yeah, you ran Saquon. You go through the Joe Judge, Jason Garrett's. That franchise has been screwed. I'm not going to say it's been put back because you still have Daniel Jones there. And if they think they can still get something out of him, the Vanilla Vic references that come from Daniel Jones, there's still some stuff there left with them. Maybe they can squeeze everything that's left them, but that's going to be a tough road ahead. There he is tripping on what was that, like the 5-yard line that grabbed him?
Yeah,
Like that.
it was around the same place where Eric Decker tripped. So those tricky blades of grass at the 5-yard line they're dangerous. You got to jump over them.
It's tough.
So the coaching carousel continues. We still have openings in Jacksonville. As we mentioned, the Raiders. Do you think the Raiders should go outside, or should they just keep, and I can't pronounce his name right, but
the Italian guy? Yeah.
I mean, he did such a good job. You overcame 2 murderers. You overcame John Gruden getting fired, and you lead the team to the playoffs. I mean, that's if you have to interview after that kind of season, then I don't know what pumpkin pie haircutter freak is doing.
See, there's 2 things I look at that Raiders franchise and what happened going down the stretch. Like, I don't know if it was the coach that just let them be them, or if it was Derek Carr. Is Derek Carr not getting enough credit for willing that team to a playoff berth, to a playoff? I mean, they were there. They had it. They had an option to win the opportunity to win that game. And I'm wondering in my head, like, are we not looking at Derek Carr? I almost called him David. Are we not giving him enough credit for what happened there in Vegas coming down the stretch? Because he played. I'm not going to say he played out of his brain, but I think like he kept that team, that offense afloat. He kept them in games. But it's that whole thing is interesting because Jim Harbaugh was tied to that. Now it sounds like Jim Harbaugh is going to get or Minnesota requested to talk to him. So I don't this whole coaching, it's getting crazy. Now you got New Orleans open. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming down that could really be exciting. One of these guys that we're talking about that haven't got a job, that we're kind of curious and they got to get something. There's still a couple jobs left that they can get.
Yeah, and his name is Rich Bisaccia, by the way, the dude from the Raiders. So he did such a good job, and yeah, obviously it was Derek Carr, but to have a coach step in through all that turmoil that they went through, and I'm not trying to take the side of the Raiders, but he did a good job leading those guys literally through the dark hole that is the Raiders season and made it to a playoff game. So there you go. And as you mentioned, Sean Payton retires again. We have to put retires in quotes now because we're not sure. We're not sure what's going on. So he retires, and he even said in his press conference, coaching's probably in my future, not this year. He might take a year off, like some people do.
Right.
Go into media. Like he says he likes media, so he might dabble into that as well. We're going to take our first time out, wrap up this coaching talk, get into retirement and a lot more, because this is just crazy. It's Championship Sunday right here on the Wheelhouse, elevation5280sports.com.
Interact with Elevation 5280 Sports on social media, like our Facebook page.
People want to go on the internet and check out their friends, so why not build a website that offers that?
Follow us on Twitter at 5280 Sports Radio.
What the heck is a Twitter?
Also, follow us on Twitch at Elevation 5280 Radio to watch the Stalking Dead live.
Little pig, let me in.
And as always, check us out online at elevation5280sports.com. Careful. It's tough to breathe up here.
Hey, Michael Spillane here for the Flash Hauler Driving app, a convenient app for on-demand furniture moving, vehicle towing, and courier service. If you like being out on the road, not having people breathing down your neck, pressuring you to get stuff done by deadlines and time limits, join our fleet on the Flash Hauler Driving app. Earn money by driving your pickup or van. Be your own boss, making your own schedule, not to mention the feeling of helping truckless people getting their furniture moved to wherever they need. If vehicle towing is more in your arena, we provide that service as well. And if you don't have a truck or a van, no worries. The app enables you to do courier gigs. It's an easy process to sign up and get approved to be part of the Flash Hauler Hero team. Be proud of what you do while you do it at your convenience. So what are you waiting for? Grab your phone, download and install the Flash Hauler, that's FLASHOLR driver app, or visit our website, HOLR-apps.com. Getting it hauled in a flash.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
You remember that ball game we went to a couple years ago?
Sure.
And how you didn't have enough cash for 2 hot dogs, so you walked with me on your shoulders until we found an ATM? And then when we got back to our seats, we never saw the hot dog guy again.
Well, I don't remember all that.
Yeah, that was an awesome game.
You never know which moments will be the ones they'll remember forever. So take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 1-877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Elevation5280sports.com is more than just a streaming radio station.
Night, y'all.
Rule the water cooler conversation by keeping up to date with scores and stats from your favorite team.
Shot. Score! Nathan McKinnon from the high slot on a perfect feed from Mikko Rantanen.
Get to know your favorite hosts. Access show lineups and past shows in the audio vault. And in-depth analysis from our sports experts and bloggers. Elevation5280sports.com. Careful. It's tough to breathe up here. This segment on Elevation 5280 Sports is brought to you by the Flash Hauler Driver app, helping people move in a flash.
And welcome back into the Wheelhouse here. Championship Sunday, Elevation5280sports.com. Matt and Mike hanging out with you a little bit early on this Sunday morning, so we appreciate you waking up with us, and just a lot going on right now. We are streaming live on Meta. Is that what it's called now?
Yeah, Meta World Peace, I believe,
yeah.
is what it is. Yeah, Ron Artest for short.
Yeah, formerly known, the artist formerly known as Ron Artest. And you know, the trippy tigers and elephants that are dancing. Have you seen that commercial for that? It's just so crazy. So props to Mark Zuckerberg for being on acid while making that commercial. All right, so we got a lot to talk about. And I realized, Matt, I didn't answer one of your questions about Brian Flores and Eric Bieniemy not getting opportunities. I think the same reason is, I mean, I don't know what happened at CU. I don't know what kind of dude Bieniemy is, but apparently reports are that he's just hard to get along with. It's his way or no way, kind of the same as Brian Flores. I mean, you would think so after a 9-7 or not, what was it, 9-8 season in Miami, something like that.
Yeah.
And you get fired after a winning season, so something personality wise is not right there. And you saw that with Brian Flores. And I don't know if Bieniemy's waiting for kind of a Josh McDaniels situation for Andy Reid to retire, but I don't even see Andy Reid retiring at any time soon. And so I don't know. Those two guys, and unfortunately, it's, you know, the African American label is going to be put on that as well. You know, with only Mike Tomlin being the only minority coach in the NFL, which is pretty sad. But I mean, those guys. I mean, I don't know what their reputation is. Besides, they're just hard to get along with.
Right. The thing that got me all screwed up was yeah, I can understand that, like, there's something wrong, or there's hard to get along with, and there's certain guys that maybe you wouldn't want that type of guy in charge of my franchise. But then you see the Bears go and get, you know, the clarinet guy, Ibu Flozu. Sounds like a German. I feel like a German beer now. I feel like I'm going to drink a German beer this afternoon because of that. That's what got me all like, okay, we're not going to hire we're not going to have Bieniemy. Caldwell. Let's just go with we're going to take this guy over Caldwell there in Chicago. And that's what kind of got me all screwed up, and kind of like, why? What are we missing on these three guys? in particular who happen to be African American, and we're gonna skip over and we're gonna go with a guy who's barely had. Yeah, he had that Indianapolis defense playing all right, but again, they lost. Didn't they lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars and got ousted from the playoffs? So there's something you got to look at there too. And I felt like that Bears organization, like you said, I felt like they needed more somebody who's done it before instead of another Matt and another Matt Nagy type, but just on the defensive side. So that is the job that really screwed me, or that really kind of threw me for a loop, why one of those guys didn't get it, especially Jim Caldwell. So that's the one I was really screwed up on.
Yeah, and I think Dan Quinn was every fan base's football team who had a coaching position open was their favorite,
Right.
especially here in Denver. But you're coming off Vance Joseph and Vic Fangio, two defensive guys. Haven't really talked about Nathaniel Hackett all that much, but like you said, they needed to switch things up and kind of just start fresh and just like shock the world almost, and just go in this new path. So
yeah,
I like the hire. With or without Aaron Rodgers, I thought it was a good hire.
Right.
Hiring a coach who sounds like Will Ferrell. Speaking of Ron Burgundy, so he won the press conference, sure, but that doesn't always translate to
Right.
winning on the field. And depending on who he hires as his coaching staff, we'll see what happens there. Like you mentioned, he's going to call plays. I'm excited for what kind of plays he draws up. Obviously, you have to have the quarterback and the players to execute it. So we'll see what happens there.
Right. And that's what I'm excited to see. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what he brings, because whether, like you mentioned, whether or not we get Aaron Rodgers or not, and I keep saying I mean the Denver Broncos, whether or not they get the Aaron Rodgers or a quarterback like that, we don't know yet. But I am confident that Hackett can hack it when it comes to developing or putting a quarterback in the right position. I hate the term developing a quarterback. Let's just put him in the position to succeed. Whether that's developing him in or part of it, I don't know. Let's just put him in a position to succeed, because that's all I want to see. I want to see identify what you can do with the quarterback you have and put them in a position to succeed around your offense. And I love that. The one thing I will say about Hackett is, and I can see it happening in this town with this media that is in this town, as soon as they start losing or things aren't going right, this whole fun, playing music during practice, being jokey, having fun, that stuff's going to grow old real quick on these people around town. You know how it works. They're going to start slamming him. Oh wait, but we got music. We're having fun. So that stuff, that's like a thin line to be dancing on, to be happy about, because I know some of these jackals in town are going to flip so quick on that and be whining. Here come training camp, they're going to be whining about the music, be whining about this, not doing that. So just keep that in mind out there, Broncos country. Everybody's going to get excited about, hey, we're going to have fun again, but that can turn real quick once they start losing, if they start losing. I hope that's not the case, but that's something that can happen.
Yeah, so we'll see what kind of staff Nathaniel Hackett puts together. We'll see what kind of staff the German beer clarinet man puts together.
Doesn't that sound like a German lager?
Now that you mentioned it, yes. I have a pint of Eberfloss. So there you go.
Yeah, give me a pint of Lieberflausen, eh?
Yeah. Do you want the matte one, or do you want? Yeah. So that one, I'm still scratching my head on.
I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out for the life of me. I really don't understand all the options you have, and you go with that guy. I mean,
and you brought up Ryan Poles, the new GM of the Chicago Bears. I didn't really care for that one either.
And it wasn't too sexy, was it?
And guess where he came from? The Chiefs, where Matt Nagy came from. So just keep that in mind as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chiefs are a great organization and obviously put together a great team, but Andy Reid's coaching tree kind of suspect at the moment.
And they got Pat Mahomes. I mean, Pat Mahomes covers up a lot of scars over there with that Chiefs franchise. If you can, there's scars there. There's open wounds that Pat Mahomes puts bandages over.
So does Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, two guys that are pretty much uncoverable once they get the football. So we'll see what happens today. We'll get into today's games. We also want to dive into the news that came out yesterday, Matt. And I feel really bad for Adam Schefter at the moment, because now no matter what he did you hear he posted that, and I forgot what it was. It was it was the Green Bay Luke Getsy going to the Bears to be the offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Everybody on his Twitter, everyone on his Facebook's like, "Are you sure, Matt? Are you sure, Adam? Are you sure right now? Is this true?" He's going to get that. 99.9% of the time in 20 years, Adam Schefter has been correct on things. And let's face it, where there's smoke, there's fire. Somebody leaked this information, and of course, it happened to be one of the biggest news stories in not only football but sports. Probably the last 25 years is Tom Brady retiring. And now they're kind of backtracking. His dad, Tom Brady's dad, coming out saying he hasn't made a decision yet. Somebody close to the team saying he let, I think his name is Light. I forgot his first name. Light, the GM of the Buccaneers. He told him that he hasn't made a decision yet. And this has just been a crazy, like 12 hours or so, probably less than 12 hours as it happened yesterday afternoon. And it was honestly weird timing, Matt. Like, I would expect Tom Brady to do this like minutes before the Super Bowl, so everyone would be talking about him during the Super Bowl. But this was just weird timing, and now that we find out it's not really true,
I don't know what I don't know what to make of it, because like you said, Adam Schefter is usually dead on, and it was Jeff Darlington too that was out there. Both of those guys that
pretty
reported
good,
the story.
reliable sources.
Yeah, and I think if you just listen to what Brady said on his podcast, on the Let's Go podcast, I believe is what it's called, it sounds like he's retired. It sounds like he's done. He doesn't want a farewell tour. He doesn't want to do any of that stuff. So it would make sense for him to retire now, so you don't get that. I think he is going to retire. I think he is retired, but I don't think it was ready to let it out. I don't think it was ready to go out. I think these guys got these guys in Schefter, Darlington, they got some kind of, I don't know if they got antsy in their pantsy. That syrup gets them all antsy in their pantsy. I don't know if that happened, or if it was like, hey, yeah, go ahead and run with the story, and they got misinformation to run with the story. I don't know, but yeah, the timing was weird. It was on a Saturday. I turned on to a sports talk, whatever station I was driving in my truck, and I turned on whatever I could find, and they were scrambling because usually on the weekends it's like the C team, it's JV, it's freshman squad, so it's guys and girls that are folks that, even though there's some pretty good ones out there that I like to listen to some shows, but anyway, there's these people that are like they're getting all excited because like finally we get to handle breaking news, and then here come 10 minutes later, boom, nope, I'm not retiring. So I think he's retired. I just think the news and everything, I think there's going to be a bigger buildup. There's a better video package. There's a whole day that's going to be dedicated towards to Tom Brady. Maybe we're waiting until February 12th. Maybe we can have a 12 day. I don't know, but I think there's more to the retiring than just, hey, I'm retired kind of situation. So I think he's still retired. I just don't know if the timing of the release of the statement was accurate. I think that was a little screwed up.
Well, yeah, and then some outlets were saying that he was mad that it was released before he got to release it himself.
Right.
So, and this is, I guess he FaceTimed Adam Schefter and was like, he's mad. He's mad.
His lipstick is running on that picture. Do you see that?
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. So that's where we're at right now with somebody. Yeah. Cramming up your creme on the floor. Yeah, so this has just been crazy, and there's so many memes out there now on social media. I saw a tombstone that said Tom Brady's retirement January 29th to January 29th. That was a pretty good one. So we'll see what the true story is. Maybe it'll be released. Maybe Tom Brady will use the platform of Championship Sunday today to kind of release a statement. Also, there's a meme out there, and I don't have the pictures to put up on the screen, but of Giselle, she's just like walking down the street on her phone.
Yeah.
And it's like her texting Adam Schefter saying, "Hey Adam, I'm retired." So hey Adam, it's Tom.
And that's what the whole story is that she wants him to retire. She wanted him to retire last year. And that's what this whole story surrounding everything that I've listened to, everything I've heard is that Giselle wants him to retire. She wants him home. She wants to stay home, and he doesn't want to leave yet. So that's what the whole part of this is that it's tough to get a athlete that doesn't want to leave, that knows he can still play. I think Tom Brady can still play at least one more season. Yeah, that there were some throws in that game where I was kind of like,
he got beat up. He got beat up.
But then there were some throws where I'm like, yeah, this dude's got at least one more season left. But here's the thing too, is everything that's going on in Tampa, because there's some screwy stuff going on in Tampa. If you really look at it, there's some screwy stuff going on with BA. I mean, are they going to have all those coaches? Leftwich has supposedly got the Jacksonville job. They're just trying to get Trent Baalke out of there. That's the last I've read on that. That he's got that job pretty much. And then who else is on that staff? The coach, the defensive coordinator's probably got offers to go to Todd Bowles. So is that team even going to be the same? I mean, they're looking at Godwin next year. They're going to try to throw a lot of money at Godwin, try to keep him around. Is Evans going to be healthy? We know what Antonio Brown did, that, the all four gremlin, the greatest gremlin ever. So even if he comes back, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a lot different than it was this year. That's for sure.
Well, and of course, if you've obviously followed social media, a lot of people are already placing Aaron Rodgers in Tampa Bay. But let's just and who's not happy about this leaked information either. Pretty pissed. Pretty and I don't know that, like you said,
You done messed up, Aaron.
It's crazy because, as you mentioned, some screwy things going down in Tampa. I think like 4 or 5 of the defensive starters contracts are expiring. I know JPP and the Donkey Kong Sue is retiring, or not retiring, is contracts are expiring. A couple defensive backs. So this is not going to be the same year. Sure, they're built for this year because they ran all 11 starters back on offensive and defense back this year from the Super Bowl year last year, and they fell short. So it's and Rob Gronkowski, I don't know if you saw the quote he put out, Matt. They said if they were to ask me if I was to come back, I had to make a decision, and I'm paraphrasing, obviously. If I had to make a decision to come back next year, the answer would be no, as of right now. Right. And you know what his future is. There you go.
Yeah. Well, he's got to get that insurance too. He's trying to get on that USAA insurance also.
He's a special. I mean, if you're in an insurance commercial, every other commercial during the week, you're doing all right. And he is a special person. So before we hit our last time out, Matt, we didn't talk about this man. And then he finally was able to shave.
He shaved.
But, I don't know why they keep saying Ben Roethlisberger was the longest tenured person ever on a team. 18 years is a long time, but Tom Brady played 22, 2 in Tampa. Wouldn't that mean he played 20 in New England?
Yeah.
Wouldn't he have been the longest tenured ever quarterback on a team? I don't know. Maybe
Ben got him like a couple months or something.
But still.
Yeah, I
Tom
agree.
Brady would have played 20 years in New England. But anyway, Ben Roethlisberger calls it a career after 18 years, 2 Super Bowls. Matt, is he a Hall of Famer?
Yes, I think he's a Hall of Famer. And if you put him down on a list of, and this is going to be crazy coming from me, especially if you put him down on a list of all-time quarterbacks, he's ahead of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, two beats one. I mean, but the argument is now Eli Manning is 2.
I would put Eli Manning above Aaron Rodgers too.
And not only does Eli Manning have 2, both of them are against Tom Brady in New England.
Well, again, I mean, that's that, and they were both with teams that were like what record did the Giants have? Like 10-6 or 9-6? Like it was some bad records. They when they run those Super Bowls.
Weren't both of them wild card teams?
Yeah. Yep.
And one of them against an undefeated Patriots heading into the Super Bowl.
Right.
17-0.
To me, that's special. Like that is special stuff. That is Hall of Fame stuff. That is all time stuff. 100%. Yeah. So
that's crazy. All right, we're gonna hit our last time out. On the other side, speaking of Hall of Fame, we're gonna switch gears just a little bit towards the end of the show, though. But speaking of Hall of Fame, did some people get snubbed from the Baseball Hall of Fame? We have to mention that because that news came out this last week as well, and also we'll dive into these 2 championship games coming up your way later today. And also, Matt, we'll talk about the fight that went down last night. Was it? Yeah, last night. So we'll get into that coming up after this break on Elevation5280sports.com. This is the Wheelhouse. Stay tuned.
NFL Analysis Network is your one-stop source for coverage of all 32 teams. We provide in-depth analysis, news, and opinions about all things football. Since you're online anyway, check out NFLanalysis.net. Elevation 5280 Sports exclusive new teammate on the gridiron.
Great party, huh, guys?
Yeah, it is. So much fun.
I do say so myself. Hey, did you know that birthday parties actually help build confidence in kids?
Yeah, I did know that.
Did you know that giving kids less sugar before bedtime helps them sleep better?
Right, of course.
Yeah, I knew that. Did you know that strollers have the right of way on sidewalks? Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, that's true. Did you know that friendly kids statistically have more friends?
Everyone knows that.
Oh, yeah?
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
So obvious.
Hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
I didn't know that.
I think I knew that. No, you didn't.
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, Michael Spillane here for Anchor.fm, Elevation 5280's new podcasting hosting platform. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Number one, it's free. You can't beat that. Next, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. You can then make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Once again, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Missed anything during the week from our live shows? Maybe a hot take or hilarious exchange? A groundbreaking opinion or money-making prediction?
The BLL is, I'm pretty sure, going to eliminate the MLL very shortly. If not this season, probably next season.
Work on getting another receiver right now. Yeah, another offensive lineman.
Joker was totally out the picture because when he's out there, he's like a sack of potatoes.
No worries, we've got you covered. Head on over to elevation5280sports.com and click on the shows tab, or to Mixcloud and search Elevation 5280 Sports, and all of our podcasts are right there at your fingertips.
For those listeners who didn't feel that, we just had another one, baby.
Elevation5280sports.com. Careful, it's tough to breathe up here. This segment on Elevation 5280 Sports is brought to you by the NFL Analysis Network, your one-stop source for all 32 teams.
Welcome back into Elevation 5280sports.com. Matt and Mike hanging out with you on this Sunday morning as a lot of NFL obviously going down. Is Tom Brady retired? Big Ben calls it quits. Man, who's the next one, I guess, besides Aaron Rodgers, kind of in that 35-plus-year-old group? I think Aaron Rodgers would be the last one. I think the Matt Stafford / I don't even know who else would be in the next tier of, I guess, I'm going to put great quarterbacks. Besides Aaron Rodgers, he's kind of the last one in that Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger group.
He is. I feel like Joe Flacco, Andy Dalton were, maybe not Andy Dalton, were kind of looked at in that light at one point to that class, but they're not there no more, obviously. Yeah. I don't think
I guess
where he was with
Stafford, Russell
Jets,
Wilson,
I think. Yeah, I can't think of anybody else in that class or in that tier. I
think the next group would have to be Stafford. Stafford leading the bunch.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, maybe. He's a little bit younger than Stafford, but yeah, I think Derek Carr would be in. I think Derek Carr and Russell Wilson would be in that next tier, after Matt Stafford. But yeah,
Stafford was drafted in 2009, I believe, right? 2009 or 2010 or 2010, something like that. And
so yeah, if Tom Brady is truly retired, and if Aaron Rodgers calls it quits, and Ben Roethlisberger's done, it's going to be weird Sundays without those three names on the field.
Right. And are you on this? I saw Twitter. I was watching Twitter last week, and there was a lot of people, especially in Broncos country. I don't know if you feel this way, because I don't, that were excited and happy that we weren't going to see Tom Brady, or we were going to see Aaron Rodgers, or there's a chance we weren't going to see Pat Mahomes, and they were labeling these quarterbacks that I'm glad we're not going to see these guys in the playoffs. I'm glad we're not going to see. Is that like small, energy? Because I want to see greatness. I want to see the best players play. Unless I'm a fan of that team and that's my team, I want to see great players in the greatest games. Am I wrong there?
I'm kind of on the fence, because I like parity. I like new. I like Pat Mahomes, but I'm kind of getting sick of him. Always, 4 straight AFC title games for the Chiefs. It's kind of boring. I I like Cincinnati. Cincinnati's fresh blood. Joe Cool smoking cigars after each win. I mean, that's always cool to see. On the NFC side, the Rams are always in it. Like they're always in the conversation, but they've only really made it far. Was it 2017 when they lost to the Patriots?
28, yeah, 2020, yeah, one of those years, yeah.
14-3, like the most boring Super Bowl ever.
It was lame.
And but I like the Rams. I like Sean McVay. Von Miller's been Von Miller of 2015 the last couple of games. So that's cool to see. He's the one who he's the one who made Tom Brady bleed. That was Von Miller right there.
That was.
That was Von.
Put some more lipstick on Tom's lips.
Yeah. So I like that. I think I said Matt LaFleur. I like Sean McVay. Same tree, same branch. But I like the freshness of it. San Francisco, obviously Kyle Shanahan. We have a lot of ties to Colorado with him. I don't think it. I like San Francisco, Matt, but watching Jimmy G play quarterback, it's not sexy.
It's not.
But I think Shanahan's record with Jimmy G is like 18-8, and without him, he's like 4-21. It's just astronomical, the numbers. And Garoppolo didn't even throw a touchdown last year, and they beat last week, and they beat the Green Bay Packers on the road.
It's unbelievable.
It's just crazy. So I don't know. I like parity, Matt, but at the same time, you want to. I'll say this, and it's probably hypocritical. I'm glad Tom Brady's not in it. I want to see the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Chiefs. I don't know if they will on the road. They've had two road wins already, so there's a chance.
Yeah.
And the Cincinnati could shock some people. They got a good defense, but I don't know. Phenomena is crazy. So
you mentioned some things there that are really important, and I think it's a wind of change. You mentioned coaches. Sean McVay, LaFleur, Kyle, and then we got Andy Reid. I think we're gonna in the next couple years, couple seasons with the quarterback shakeout. They retire, Aaron Rodgers goes away, Tom Brady goes away. I think the coaches might be. Are we? This is how I'm gonna look at. Someone look at this. Are we looking at maybe coaches being stars of the NFL coming here in the next couple of years? Or are we still going to look at the quarterbacks, running backs, players? Because there's a lot. These coaches, man, they're starting to be recognized. There's faces starting to get out there. Like Sean McVay's tree, like that's the dude that everybody is searching to get. Everybody wants to get a Sean McVay. That hire in. I know he's not. He's off defensive minded, but that hire in Chicago was somebody so they can get something like a Sean McVay type of mind, young guy there. So I wonder if coaches are going to be superstars in this league going forward, or I mean, we're still going to have the players and whatnot, but I think coaches, man, they're really starting to get up there.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of the same thing as you mentioned the quarterbacks. Andy Reid's not going to want recognition. He's not going to. He got recognition last year because he had to wear that giant face shield that always was fogging up.
That was ridiculous.
But guys like Andy Reid, guys, the kind of the older set of coaches, just like the older set of quarterbacks. Although coaches, they don't want the recognition, and right. I think Andy Reid shies away from the limelight as much as he can. That's why you always see Mana talking. And also, I'm kind of sick of Mahomes' brother and fiance.
Yeah.
So. How about this?
That's the only thing I hate about Mahomes, and I'm starting to dislike Mahomes tremendously because of his wife and because of his brother.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
I don't know if you saw this floating around social media. How about the 2013 Washington coaching staff? This was under Mike Shanahan, and this was before Jay Gruden went in there and absolutely Josh McDaniel the whole thing. But I don't know if you saw this floating around. The 2013 coaching staff. There's Kyle Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, Matt LaFleur, quarterbacks coach, and Sean McVay, the tight ends coach, all on the same staff. And then Jay Gruden got hired and fired everybody. And then they were never relevant ever again until maybe last year. So that's just crazy to see right there. And, all three of them in the playoffs, two of them battling each other today in the NFC title game. That'll be Sean McVay leading the Los Angeles Rams against Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. They don't have to travel far, just up the interstate or down up the interstate, LA.
Right.
No,
yeah.
down. It would be down to San Francisco, north of LA. Yeah. So they'll be traveling south to LA. But what do you make of this game, man? I mean, can the 49ers keep it going? I mean, I feel bad for Deebo Samuel because he's literally the only guy, the guy besides George Kittle. This is the only guy who can basically play every position, and we've seen him play every position. And then you have the LA Rams, much better roster. Matt Stafford has already won 2 playoff games, Matt, in his first season in LA. That's more than he ever did in Detroit. That's more than Dak Prescott has already done in Dallas. How about that stat?
Yep.
What do you make of this game? I want San Francisco to win, but I don't mind the Rams. Rams, again, have a better roster. I see the Rams sneaking away of this one. Both good defenses. Stafford is in another level above Garoppolo, so I think I got to go with the Rams.
I'm with you on that too. I mean, San Francisco has pretty much owned this series, if I'm not mistaken. Especially this season, they beat the Rams. They came back to beat the Rams to get into the playoffs this year alone.
Head to head, Matt. Sean McVay is 0-4 against Kyle Shanahan.
That's I thought, because the last time that they won, they beat San Francisco was like a couple years ago or something like that. It's a couple seasons ago. But yeah, when you look at that, it's like, man, San Francisco. Kyle's got his number. He might have his number, but I think overall, and this goes with both games. I know that these teams, both Cincinnati and San Francisco, have beat LA, have beat the teams that they're playing to get to where they are now. They've already done that. And remember, I said there was a Cincinnati and Kansas City game a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I think Cincinnati's going to win this game, but I think they're going to play again in the playoffs. I didn't know if it's going to be the AFC Championship game, but I think in both games today, it's going to be blowouts. I really do. I'm looking at everything they got to this point, and I think it's all spent. I just don't think San Francisco, outside of special teams, won that beat Green Bay. Special teams beat Green Bay Packers. That was a special teams win. I don't know if that's going to happen today, because I think the Rams are better there than the Green Bay was. And the way defense is playing, that Rams defense is playing right now. I know they gave up. They had 27 points to 10 or 27-3 on Tampa Bay, but they gave up all those points going in. But that's still Tom Brady. I think San Francisco is going to come out and they're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to run the football, but I don't think Jimmy G can win them the game until we see Jimmy G give us an example of winning the football, him going out there and winning the football game. Then I give the nod to Matt Stafford and the Rams today. I just really do. I think it's going to be a bigger game than what it was. I think it's going to close. It's going to be close to a double-digit blowout scenario. In both games, I really do. But in this game in particular, I just think that Jimmy G is going to need to make a play. And I don't know if he's going, whether it's in the first half, second half, wherever there's a point Jimmy G's going to need to make a play to keep them in or to put them over the top to give him a lead. And I don't think he's going to do it. And I guess he's going to go the other way. Von Miller, man, isn't it great to see Von Miller play in the playoffs again? Like you're looking at it like,
hitting Tom Brady.
Von Miller's a tremendous playoff football player.
Yeah, and hitting Tom Brady like he did in 2015.
It was great. It was great to watch. Like that's what I'm loving right now about these playoffs and the Rams is we get to watch vintage Von Miller defense. Vintage Von Miller. I'm rooting for the Rams. Like the Rams are my new adopted team, I guess. I don't really care either way. I just want to get to the Super Bowl halftime show. But at this point, I got the Rams. I'm taking the Rams.
Yeah, I got to go with the Rams. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a blowout because San Fran has a good defense. Rams just have a better defense, but I'm torn on Aaron Donald, Matt. I don't know if I like the guy. He's quiet, but at the same time, he just seems like an a-hole at the same time. I don't know. He's got that quiet.
You can take him out of a play.
Yeah,
you can and then you got like there's ways, and this is what San Francisco does. This Kyle Shanahan does so well, and that's why they've won and they've kind of eliminated him. Is they'll double, triple him, or they'll run right at him. They'll run right at Vaughn. They'll run right at Leonard. They'll do stuff like that to kind of take him out of there or take him out of it. If you're making Vaughn play run instead of rush you and tackle you, that like you're taking Vaughn out. Vaughn can play run, but and the same thing with Donald too. Like that's what the Rams need to do today to get over that hump is they need to figure out how they can get their best players to get involved in the game because San Francisco does so well at taking those guys out.
Yeah, and like you said, you got to be careful when you do that to Donald because then you have Leonard Floyd and you have Von Miller, you know, escaping through the holes in which you're using that double triple team on Aaron Donald. So, and I'm sure Aaron Donald loves it. He's like, yeah, triple team me. That leaves those guys wide open to get to the quarterback. So, but Aaron Donald, he's got that quiet, like douchebaggery quality about him. I'm not sure if I like him. And he would, if you watch Hard Knocks before this season, and speaking of Hard Knocks, really quick, the in-season one with the Colts, still didn't hear about Eberflus in that thing. I just want to throw that out there as well. But yeah,
I didn't know that dude existed. I got to say, I did not know that guy existed over there.
And a lot of people are saying he was a good ass defensive coordinator for the Colts. Never heard of him. Why he just like stuck through the cracks somehow. All right, this AFC title game, Matt, is the Kansas City Chiefs' 4 straight AFC championship appearances going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals just shocking the world right now. 2 road wins already. One against the Raiders, and who'd they beat last week?
They beat the Tennessee Titans.
The number 1 seed on the road as well. I don't know.
Fraudulent number 1 seed.
I don't understand how Tennessee's been like the number 1 seed for like 3 years in a row. That's just crazy to me. You get Derrick Henry back, and you have your wide receivers back, and Tannehill is in that Garoppolo tier, Matt. Just good, but not good enough. Yep. And honestly, I would take Tannehill in Denver if I'm being honest. But if there's no other option, but this game, Matt, I want the Bengals to win so bad. But I again, this is kind of the San Francisco LA thing. Chiefs just have a better roster, Matt. I mean, they'll give up some big plays, their defense, but their offense just scores so many points, Matt, that it doesn't matter how much their defense gives up.
Yeah. And their defense was kind of better down the stretch, but they've been horrible lately. I think they've given up like 28 some points in the playoffs or something crazy like that. Cincinnati can score points. We know that. I think today this game is going to come down to coaching. I think I don't know if Zach Taylor, you can say he's got the offensive creativeness, but you got Joe Burrow, you got Joe Mixon, you got Jamar Chase there. I mean, hell, Tyler Boyd's a hell of a second option there, and then you got Uzuma in the tight end. That's pretty freaking good. A lot of weapons with Cincinnati, and I think with this game and why I think KC is going to win is just because I don't know if Zach Taylor is going to put that team in a good position to win football games. He makes some game management decisions that are kind of boggling, that a young coach like that makes it because he hasn't experienced it. He hasn't been in an AFC championship game. He doesn't know what to do, hold him when to fold him. There's situations like that I think is going to come up today for Zach Taylor, and I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to hurt his team, and it's just an experience, just learning, and that's what I think it comes down to. These teams are evenly matched in senses when it goes to offense versus defense. The Cincinnati defense or offense, I think, is better than the KC defense. But again, that KC offense is just tremendous with the weapons that it has in Hill, Kelsey, and what Mahomes can do. And you got Jared McKinnon, man. I mean, yeah, he's not the Jared McKinnon that he was in Minnesota or even in San Francisco for the little time he was there. But he can still do some things. So that's interesting. I don't know if Edwards-Helaire is even going to be healthy for this game. I haven't seen that. But I think Zach Taylor is the weak link for Cincinnati when it comes to this matchup. And I think we're going to see that. And I think KC wins. And I don't know. I just hope they score a lot of points and it's a fast up-tempo game. That's what I'm hoping. But I think KC wins.
That's what I mean. Like they gave up 34 points to the Bills last week, and they still come back and won. You give Pat Mahomes 13 seconds. Obviously, we see what happens there.
Gosh, yeah, I know.
See, I would have loved to see. I'm not just something about Buffalo. I don't like them. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's Josh Allen. Maybe because we have that jealous envy that Bradley Chubb is here instead of Josh Allen. Yeah. I don't know what it is. But how about this crazy stat really quickly before we wrap things up? And Adam Schefter just put this out, and I don't know if it's true or not.
I don't know. We got to hold. Well, before you say that, we got to hold on.
Yeah, but this is probably true because you can go back and look it up. San Francisco's Kyle Shanahan and LA Sean McVay, who were hired in the same coaching cycle in 2017, are now the second and third longest tenured coaches in the NFC, only behind Pete Carroll in Seattle. How about that? That's crazy.
And that's crazy. Like that, oh my gosh, that's crazy because you think of those guys as young guys and they haven't even been coaches for that long. Like that's what you think in your head.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And that shows you how screwed up that NFC is, because there's no continuity at all. But those two guys are your longest tenured guys. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they will probably be the coaches in their respective places for another 10 years. So
Oh yeah, there's at this point, there's no reason why you'd even go off like the adaptation, the evolution in these guys, because that's the biggest thing about coaching is, and that's why Vic couldn't make it here. Vic and Pat couldn't make it here because they couldn't evolve. They couldn't change up what they're doing.
Yeah.
These two guys are smart enough to keep evolving and getting better. My goodness, that's crazy. And that's
Can't
why
teach a dog,
the
can't
NFL
teach
is
an old dog new tricks.
yeah. And that's why the NFL, that we're looking for more guys like that. The Broncos, they're hoping they got a guy in Hackett like that. I think the potential's there to be that guy for sure.
And if you truly think about it, Hackett is honestly a branch off of those two guys,
right?
Because not only was he under Matt LaFleur, Matt LaFleur, again, we showed the graphic, they were all on the same coaching tree. All those guys are from the Mike Shanahan coaching tree.
Yep.
And Hackett loves the West Coast offense because his dad was on a coaching staff in San Francisco with a young Mike Shanahan as well. So,
yep.
I mean, it all ties together, Matt. So Hackett's basically part of that tree.
Right. He's a part of that tree. He's got that mindset. He's got that, and then he spent time with LaFleur there.
Yeah.
And he got to see that. So the potential's there for this guy to have that same mind, have that same kind of, bring that same mentality. And did you know he was a quality control coach for 8 seasons?
Yeah. If you listen to his press conference, he kind of dives all into that and what a quality control guy entails. But
those guys are grinders. And that's my biggest thing was with the new coach, a new OC, is they don't know game management. Quality control coaches, they know everything about the management of the game. They know the statistics. They know they put that, like, there's so many things. So when I heard that, then my cautiousness of game management, like, what's this guy's going to do because he have experience, we just went out the window, knowing the quality, because I respect the hell out of quality control coaches. I would love to be a quality control coach. Those guys they learn so much.
So if you are on Twitter, you need to follow a fake Nathaniel Hackett account. It's whoever made this up is absolutely fantastic.
I wish I would have done that. I saw that. The faux one.
Well, and then there was one that tweeted out from Nathaniel Hackett. It's a fake Twitter account, obviously not verified, and I don't even think he has Twitter, but someone created this account and it said, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't find it now, but it said, just found a whole bunch of timeouts in the ceiling. What the hell has been going on here? So
I saw that.
Yeah.
I lost it because that's exactly what it seemed like Fangio was doing. Was like, did he take those? He forgot his timeouts. You got to call him and say, hey, come get your timeouts, coach.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, before we get on out of here, Matt, the Baseball Hall of Fame announced its only inductee for 2022, and it was Big Papi, David Ortiz from the Boston Red Sox. Whether you feel he should have got in this year or not, his resume speaks for itself. A lot of these PED/steroid users, I think his name was brought up a couple times, Matt, but nothing really solidified what he was able to accomplish. Obviously won I think 8 Edgar Martinez awards for the best designated hitter in baseball. And let's face it, that's just American League. That I mean, if you open that up to the National League, it'll just be crazy. But David Ortiz, the only recipient, and it's crazy to me because what is it, 10 years on the ballot, and then you're no longer eligible.
Yeah.
I do not feel bad for Barry Bonds. I do not feel bad for Roger Clemens. I do not feel bad for Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, all these guys who are now gone off the ballot because it was their 10th year. But now all of these media platforms, Matt, are like, oh, Barry Bonds got snubbed. How do you not have the best home run hitter or the leading home run hitter? Why are they all of a sudden in their 10th year of eligibility sticking up for these guys?
It's weird.
Why weren't you fighting for these? Why weren't you fighting for these guys in year one?
Where's that same energy back then? Where was that energy? When it was probably the opposite energy, like they're beating on them. They shouldn't be here. Blah blah blah. The MLB has the Hall of Fame. The MLB Hall of Fame has set a precedence that they look at everything and not just what you do on the baseball field. They set that precedence with Pete Rose. I hate to keep bringing that up, but that's the perfect example. Until Pete Rose gets in or in some kind of way, semblance or shape of whatever, you're not going to see these guys get in. Like it's just that's just the way it goes. And so to be upset, whether you're upset about what Barry Bonds did before he started taking steroids was Hall of Fame caliber. Yeah, okay, I agree. I understand what he's done before he started noticeably taking steroids, but he still took the PEDs. He still took them. He still put in. Roger Clemens, he still took him. Mark McGwire still did it. Sammy Sosa, he's not even the same color anymore that he was. He's totally different dude now. So like this stuff's all, it's like you make your bed, you lay in it. That's what you did. That's what you felt you had to do. Don't be upset you're not getting into the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame. Even how ridiculous and crazy and old crotchety and secret society, all however you want to put it, label it, the voting is, it's not gonna happen for you.
And this is why, and whether you like the voting process or not, baseball writers, this is why the Baseball Hall of Fame is my favorite Hall of Fame, because basketball, hockey, they just let everyone in when their retirement is over or whatever, the 4 or 6 years, whatever it is.
Right.
Baseball is prestigious. I think football is kind of the same. Only a certain amount of guys get in, although last year was a whole bunch of guys because of COVID the year before, so that's understandable. But this is why baseball is prestigious. It's stuff like that. But do you think that, and I saw a lot of this around social media as well after Big Papi was not let in, but voted in. Do you agree that they should have just opened it up to steroid users because it was basically the thing to do in the late 90s, early 2000s?
There's a part of me that says, yeah, if it's those guys, if it's those players, because what the things, because you have to look at what they did before. I mean, Mark McGwire was good, Sammy Sosa was good, but they weren't hitting the home runs and doing that stuff before that. Barry Bonds, on the other hand, like he's the only one out of that group that I would put in the Hall of Fame, and it's only because of what he can do. Or he was one of the best baseball players alive at any time when he was playing in the league, especially when he was with Pittsburgh. And the things that he did over there, he's the only one that I would say you can make an exception for. But then now you're trying to say, well, you can look at Mark McGwire, you can start to roll everything out, and then Roger Clemens, another one too. He's that guy, the Rocket, man. He's a freaking rocket. So those two guys would be the only ones that I would look at, maybe like granting some leniency or special invite or whatever, however you want to look at it. But still, they have made the precedence that if you've done stuff like this, if you've done things to soil your name or a cheat, you're cheating. And Pete Rose did it. These guys done it. They cheated, and you're not getting in. You're not getting in.
Well, and you mentioned Barry Bonds probably had a Hall of Fame career, before he
did. Yeah.
Before he even got to the Giants. And how about this really quick? And this reminds me of this Tom Brady stat I just saw. In his 20s, Matt, he threw 129 touchdown passes in his 20s. He's thrown 178 in his 40s. Just 2 Hall of Fame careers. Just want to throw that in there. But yeah, Barry Bonds, in Pittsburgh probably had a Hall of Fame career. You could agree that Roger Clemens had 2 Hall of Fame's career, pre and post steroids as well. Didn't he win like 2 Cy Youngs in Toronto of all places or something like that, and like 3 in Boston before he was a big name, but when he got to New York, let's face it, it's New York, so your name's gonna blow up in New York. Same with Alex Rodriguez. He probably would have had a Hall of Fame career, and he admitted to it. He said he was sorry. Now nobody really cares. He might get in, Matt. I think Alex Rodriguez will be until maybe like 7, 8, 9 years on the ballot. But since he apologized and he's in the media, kind of people like him. I don't like him because he cheated on J-Lo, but that's a whole nother story. But you can make a case that he had 2 Hall of Fame careers before he even got to New York as well. With Seattle and Texas. I mean, he was a great shortstop / third baseman, whatever you want to call him. And Roger Clemens. I mean, do you really need steroids to pitch?
That's the thing.
Randy Johnson, that dude was a twig his whole career.
Like in his mind, it was recovery, or he needed to up his velocity to get it past these guys. And like, that's what he keeps saying is the recovery time so he can pitch more, and I mean, once you go that route, there's just no coming back. It's like you made your decision. Now you got to deal with it.
And the only thing that I'm on their side is it wasn't illegal when they were doing it.
Right. I agree.
And since they banned certain certain steroids, certain, HGH, whatever, then they were like, oh, these guys took it. But like,
and when they were
everyone was
doing it, like I can't remember because I was a younger kid, so I wasn't real. I don't know if I was really paying attention to what the talk was, but it's like when they were doing it, all I remember is, oh man, this is the most exciting thing ever. I never heard a lot about we shouldn't be celebrating this, we shouldn't be condoning this, we shouldn't be excited about this because they're cheating. Now, I didn't hear any of that. Did you hear anything about that?
No, because it wasn't frowned upon then.
So I mean, that's kind of our society nowadays. We get in trouble for the things we did that wasn't bad or illegal back then. And nowadays they're, some things are looked at different. So I don't know. I guess that's our society. But I think the Hall of Fame, the MLB Hall of Fame has set that precedence. If you cheat, you're not coming in.
Really quickly, before we get out of here, what did you make of David Ortiz getting in actually?
Isn't he just a DH?
He was first base.
He was horrible at first base, though, wasn't he?
Maybe he played when they played in the National League ballparks.
He was just horrible at first base. He's a pinch hitter. He's a DH guy. That's all I got to say. I would have put Todd Helton over him, but I'm a homer.
Speaking of Todd Helton, made a big jump. I think this is what his 5th, 6th year on the ballot, so he's still got time. Went from 29%, Matt, to 52.
Yeah,
huge jump.
Getting closer.
He might get in. Probably not next year, but in the next 2-3 years. So that's good to see. Like Larry Walker.
I vote. I root for those guys, man.
Yeah.
David Ortiz, to me, when I look at that guy, I mean, unless there's a place where you got the greatest DH of all time.
I was gonna say, should they
I look at I think of Manny Ramirez. He was god awful in left field or right field or left field, wherever the hell they put him.
Cleveland, he was good because he could actually run.
I mean, there's a lot of players where I'm like, God, you're here because you can hit the freaking baseball. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess hitting, chicks dig the long ball. They don't.
Yeah, they do. Glavine and Maddox, poor guys.
All right, we're gonna get out of here. We'll have Matt break down some fights at a later time, but just crazy. Enjoy the games today, Matt. Are you placing any bets anywhere?
I had a bad weekend last week, so I got to take a break this week.
Yeah, last week, Matt, I placed $10 bet on an 8-leg parlay. Only missed 2 of them. All I needed was Rob Gronkowski and Odell Beckham Jr. to score, and I would have won $2,000.
See, I missed out on. There was a touchdown score that I missed out on, and a win. So I had the Packers winning and a touchdown score, so I missed on those. So yeah,
Travis Kelce did get me 10 points though, because I put him down as an anytime scorer in a separate bet, and of course he scored in overtime to get me $10. So thank you, Travis Kelce.
See, I almost went with him for 2 touchdown scores because did he throw for 1 and he scored 1?
Did he throw for 1?
Yeah, he threw for 1, I think, last week.
I thought that was the week before, but it could have been.
It could have been the week before. They run together for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna get out of here. Enjoy the games today. Hopefully, we'll be back next week during the Pro Bowl / bye week in the NFL. So maybe we'll come back and break down these games next week right here on the Wheelhouse Elevation 5280sports.com. For Matt Mascarenas, I'm Michael Spill, and we will talk to you then.
I'm always on my own. 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 Never going back alone. Going back alone. Know what's left, lost my own. Living, sleeping in the zone.
Streaming live on your computer and on your smartphone. Check out elevation5280sports.com for all